My plan for today was to make a video talking about the one-handed backhand, but by the time I got to the court, I realized I couldn't do it because within my own game, I'm still really working on my forehand, so that's all I can think about. Now, I'm a right-handed player naturally, but I crashed on a mountain bike, I separated my collarbone, and now I'm having to relearn to play left-handed, with the goal of hopefully becoming a 5.0 and kind of getting back to where I was with my right hand. I've been doing okay so far, but I've still got certain things that I need to improve, namely my forehand. My slice backhand is pretty reliable, I can move the ball around. My topspin backhand is, I feel confident in that. I can hit cross court, I can hit down the line, I can vary the spin. I'm happy with my volleys, my serves coming along, but the sticking point is the forehand. It's still somewhat of a liability because I haven't quite got the timing, or I hadn't quite got the timing. I was practicing last night and I think I might have finally got it. So that's why today, instead of talking about the backhand, I'm going to be back working on my forehand, showing you how I'm practicing things, explaining what I'm thinking about, and hopefully I'll be hitting them well. I'll be able to get a little bit more power because the timing is the key piece. And if it is helpful to you, give me a thumbs up. And also, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, it's much appreciated if you could do that as well. So before we look at my practice, let's look at how it should be done. I want to show you a few clips of different professional tennis players hitting forehands. The video I've used is taken from Slow Mo Tennis Pro. It's a great resource, so I'll link it down below. But I want you to kind of focus on a few things. When I talk about timing, I mean a couple of things. So firstly, it's when you start your swing, but then after that, it's all about your ability to effectively use your kinetic chain and basically get all the work done. Create the racket head speed using the big muscles in your legs and in your torso. Transfer that energy into the arm and then the racket. So what we're going to be looking at with all these pro players, you'll see that they all hit it slightly differently. The way they take it back is a little bit different, the grips are slightly different, the precise swing paths are different, but the commonalities are they all have a good unit term. They end up with their body at least side on to the net. They drive and initiate the swing through their outside hip or their back hip. So for the right-handed players, it's the right hip. For the left-handed players, it's the left hip. So they drive through that hip, then the torso starts to rotate. And as that happens, it creates racket lag. And then from the racket lag, the elastic in the muscles basically throws and whiplashes the racket forwards into the contact point. And this is basically what I'm working on at the moment, is trying to efficiently use the kinetic chain and get the timing with my hip and my torso and really try and be more loose and relaxed through contact so that I'm getting a more relaxed racket lag. Because previously, as I was learning and developing my forehand, I was forcing and arming a little bit, so now that's what I'm trying to smooth out. As I've just said, I'm really working on my timing and trying to be as efficient as I can with my kinetic chain. So initiating all of the shots by driving through my left hip, followed by my torso, and as that happens, creating the racket lag, being nice and relaxed with the racket lag, and then getting the work done early to create the racket head speed efficiently. And the drill that I'm doing, I'm basically working on hitting two very different shots. It's the same feed coming towards me, but one of the shots I'm taking aggressively down the line, so I'm trying to hit it a lot harder and flatter, and then I'm doing the exact opposite of that, trying to roll the ball cross court with a short angle with more spin. So it's the same ball, but the sequencing and the timing of my kinetic chain is very different because of the type of shot that I'm hitting. So I'm basically training my brain and training my body to make this adjustment. So let's slow things down and take a look at what I did well and what I didn't do quite as well. And I want to pause it here because the first thing I want to point out is what I didn't do well, and that was I didn't get quite enough torso rotation. My torso definitely wasn't getting side onto the net, so my angle was a little bit less. Now this is okay, you know, I was hitting a good quality of shot, but moving forward for me to be able to develop more power more efficiently, I want a little bit more upper body rotation so then I can use it as part of my kinetic chain. But what I am doing well is I'm getting the timing part right, and this is the main thing that I'm working on. So yes, I could get more torso rotation, which will eventually let me get more easy power, but in terms of the timing, I'm doing well. As I'm driving through my left hip, I'm getting a nice relaxed racket drop, the sequencing of my kinetic chain is good, and I'm transferring that, and my arm and wrist is staying nice and relaxed through contact. And I'm happy with my ability to be able to do this going more aggressively down the line, and then switching and going and using that short angle cross court. Next, I moved to the baseline and worked on some cross-court rally balls. So if someone hits the ball hard and flat at me, I find that really easy to time. What I find more difficult is this ball that I'm dealing with here. So it's coming deep, it's got spin, it's kicking up. And what I'm trying to do is just send the ball back cross-court, deep into the corner with a little bit of spin and a little bit of pace. So this is my kind of regular rally ball. But in terms of what I'm working on, everything else is exactly the same. I'm still trying to get the timing. So now, because the ball is traveling further, I'm on the baseline compared to the service line, the visual prediction and working out exactly where the ball is a little bit more challenging. So that's what I'm working on. Am I still able to time the start of my swing, driving through that hip, then using my torso? And as I do that, am I able to create a smooth, efficient racket drop and racket lag and transfer that energy into the ball? And again, I'm very happy with the improvements that I've made. I'm initiating the swing, driving through the hip. The racket lag is nice and relaxed, and I feel that I'm transferring that through into the contact point, staying nice and relaxed throughout. After working on the regular rally ball, I worked on a heavier ball. So I'm still receiving the same feed, but now I'm taking pace off it. I'm hitting with a lot more spin, trying to get more clearance over the net. And this is a shot that is going to cause right-handed opponents absolute nightmares, because it's going to be kicking up into their backhand and there's absolutely nothing that they can do with it. So in terms of what I'm working on, it is exactly the same. I'm still trying to drive through my hip and trying to be as relaxed as I can with my racket drop. I think one thing to point out here is that a lot of the time I'm using a reverse single leg pivot with the footwork. So I'm pivoting on my left leg and my right leg is kicking up as a counterbalance. And this is an important footwork for dealing or trying to create these heavy balls, because it allows you to use your pelvis and torso. But again, I was happy with the result. I was happy with the timing that I was getting. So the same ball that I'm dealing with, but the timing that I'm using adjusts because of the type of ball that I'm trying to hit. And after working on each of these shots individually, I then worked on alternating. So I would hit one regular rally ball, and then the next shot I would hit higher, heavier, with more spin. So I'm really trying to train my timing, my ability to adapt. The ball that I'm dealing with is the same, but the timing changes because of the swing path and the swing speed that I'm using, because of the intent and the type of shot that I'm trying to hit. Next, I worked on going down the line, so I'm dealing with the same feed, but I'm changing direction, and that changes the timing. Relative to the cross-court ball, the contact point is going to be a little bit later, so the way that you initiate the swing is going to vary slightly. After working on down the line on its own, I then alternated between down the line and hitting the heavy ball cross court that I'd worked on previously. And here, again, it's a very different shot. The timing completely changes. And as you can see, I wasn't coping as well as I would have liked. So when I was working on each of these shots individually, I did pretty well. But now the timing between down the line and this heavy ball cross court is very challenging. And with my left hand, I'm not quite good enough to do this with consistency. So this is something that I'm going to be working on more moving forwards, to really try and smooth my timing out and give me the ability to be more adaptive during matches. The final drill that I worked on during this practice session, I had the ball machine set to random, so I didn't know where the ball was being fed. They were all heavy with a lot of spin on, so that they were kicking up to me, but I didn't know the direction that they were going. But my intent was to hit 3 balls cross court, or 3 balls into my opponent's backhand, followed by 1 ball into my opponent's forehand. So it didn't matter where the feed went, that was the pattern that I was working on. But my goal in terms of what I was trying to practice was exactly the same. I'm still trying to smooth my timing out, driving through my left hip, using my torso, getting a relaxed racket lag, and trying to stay relaxed throughout contact. But now obviously I don't know where the ball's going. There's much more of a challenge in terms of predicting and reading the flight of the ball, and that's the real challenge in tennis. And as you can see,
again, I did okay, but not amazing. So I need to work on this type of drill more. I need to improve my timing so that whatever ball comes, I can read it more precisely and I can adjust my kinetic chain more precisely. And then that's going to allow me to play with both variety and consistency during matches.
Overall, I was happy with how the practice session went. I feel like I'm finally starting to get the timing on my forehand, which is good because I've been working at this for a couple of years, and for a long time it was very frustrating, but I feel like I'm finally getting there. Now at the end you could see that things weren't perfect. There's still some shots that I'm not hitting super cleanly, but that's okay, it's moving in the right direction. Now, hopefully my practice session has given you some ideas and ways that you can work on improving your timing, but it's important for me to let you know that the on-court work that I do is just a small part of how I try and improve my game and the things that I have to work on to improve my game. I had to do a lot of work on improving my wrist strength and my shoulder strength because at the start when I was playing left-handed, I was just picking up niggly injuries. So that's something that I work on a continual basis. The other thing that I do is I work a lot on my vision and my coordination because every shot that you hit is different. You have to be able to read and predict where the ball's going so that you can start your swing at the right time, and you have to be able to adjust the speed of your swing, the way that you use your kinetic chain based on the type of shot that you're dealing with. And if I hadn't have done the work on my vision and my coordination, I wouldn't be where I am now in terms of my current performance level. And that's actually what I help tennis players with. I teach players how to use brain-based training to improve their eye-to-hand, eye-to-foot coordination, to raise their skill level so they can play a better quality of tennis. If that's something that you'd like to learn how to do, I've created a free class. I'll place a link up there and I'll place a link down in the description so that you can check out this free class. And at the end of it, it'll explain a little bit about my program and how I work with players and what the next steps are if that's something you're interested in. Okay, hopefully you've enjoyed the video and found it to be useful. If you have, it's always appreciated if you could give me a thumbs up, and any comments, leave them down below, and I'll catch you next time.